Hi, I'm Laurie Lasbury, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement for CarDon Associates. And welcome to the Resource Hub. Today, we are super excited to have Marsha Egan from Bosma Enterprises. Hi, Marsha. Can you tell us a little bit about Bosma and what your role is at Bosma?
Certainly. Thank you, Lori, and thank you for having me on this Resource Hub hotline. I would love to share about Bosma. Um, Bosma's mission is to provide services to people who are blind or visually impaired. And I'll talk a little bit about our services, but I do want to let you know that in Indiana, there are over 170,000 people who are living with vision loss. And it is expected that by 2050, that number is going to double nationwide. And so it's our aging population that continues to deal with vision loss. So Bosma offers a variety of services to people who are blind or visually impaired. It goes from our center-based services to our community-based services to even our employment services. So no matter where you are in your journey with your vision loss, we are there to provide hope and resources to keep you moving forward. And so I thought I'd touch a little bit about some of the more common vision impairments that people may face, especially as we're looking at older adults. And the most common you may have heard of is age-related macular degeneration. And that is a condition where the central part of your vision, the macula, which is part of the retina, starts to just disappear. And so it's like closing an eye and holding your finger up over it, and all of a sudden I can't see faces anymore. And we hear that a lot with many of our older adults that we serve. And so we also look at people who face glaucoma, which again is one of the leading causes of vision loss in older adults, especially those over 60. And it is so important. That's why we encourage people to always work with their eye care professional, because it's about your eye care health. And so with glaucoma, what you may find is complete opposite. It's like I have no peripheral vision. I'm looking through a straw or a tunnel. And so it makes viewing things very difficult, and I'm scanning so much more. And then some of the other common vision impairments that we see from many of our clients is, of course, cataracts, which we know is just wears down over time. And there are times when you could have lenses replaced, cataract surgeries that can be beneficial. But diabetes is another leading cause of vision loss. So it's diabetic retinopathy. So again, maintaining health is so important. We encourage people to, again, think about those things. For somebody with diabetic retinopathy, if you imagine a piece of lace or lace curtain and looking through it as it's blowing, you just see parts of it is there, parts of it are missing. I'm just not sure. And there are so many other things that can cause vision loss, from trauma, from strokes, genetic conditions, all of those things. And the thing about vision loss is that you can be working with, I may not just have macular, I may have macular in addition to my cataracts. And then we know that also the thing about vision loss is that vision loss does not discriminate. It can hit anybody at any time. And so when that happens and people are diagnosed with some kind of vision loss, we want people to know that Bosma is out there as a resource, and we're there to help them continue on through their journey. And so some of the services I'll touch on just briefly. Like I said, our comprehensive rehab program is really funded through vocational rehabilitation, because people that come through that are really looking to get back into the work, back to work, to employment, to going on to higher education, whatever that might be. And so we go through a variety of skills training, from assistive technology, adjustment counseling, manual skills, orientation, mobility, learning to use that white cane to navigate safely in the community, as well as just general communication and personal management. How do I operate my stove without vision anymore? How do I, ensure that this is clean? How do I use my phone because I can no longer see? How do I use my keyboard? Or how do I learn to use a computer because I've never done that? So those are all skills that we work with, helping people to learn. And that also continues on into our community services, which a lot of it is with seniors 55 and older. And I'll tell you, we serve probably over 400 seniors every year in our community-based, home-based services. And people want to stay in their home. And if they don't, they want to stay and still stay active in their daily activities. So whether it's, I can no longer read books, so there's talking book programs. The light is really hard on my eyes, so let's get you some filters. I want to be able to read my mail. All of those things are things that we can address individually with individuals. And then, of course, our employment services. So it's a very individualized approach to our services because everybody's goals can be very different of what I want to do and where I am in my life and my activities. And so our community-based program, we travel throughout the state, from Lake and Porter all the way down to Clark County. It's a whole array of services that we bring to our clients, no matter where they are. And so a couple of things I thought might share also is when people are struggling with vision loss, we want to provide them with some tips and tricks that may help them along the way. So things like contrast. You think about contrast, everything is kind of white or light colored, or we match things. And we encourage people to think about change out that receptacle plate, change out that light plate to a dark color if your wall is light colored. Use contrast to your benefit if you have some vision and you can see the difference there. We also look at a lot of tactile techniques. We have what we call bump dots. They're like little Velcro or little raised rubbery dots. Because how do I use my microwave? How do I identify this? How do I find this that push the button on my control? We will use bump dots. We'll use puff paint, tactile paint, anything that's going to help give a tactile identifier as to what that object is, where I'm trying to go with this. I don't know how many times you're pushing on a remote and it's like record. It's like, nope, didn't want to record that. So we'll put a dot of maybe fingernail polish or puff paint to say, here's the button you should push for on off. Here's a different control. Even identifying your clothing when I can't see colors anymore. How do you identify those? We go through strategies to find something that's going to work for that individual because there's a number of labeling techniques that can be used. So again, we find what's going to work best for them. But the other things that people think about is a magnifier. I want to be able to read my mail, or I want to be able to, read a little bit of this book, or I want to be able to make sure if I'm living independently, how I make sure I'm getting my right medication, not taking the wrong one. So we go through a lot of training on medication administration. We have talking scales, we have talking blood pressure cuffs, we have, talking clinical thermometers, all of those things that can help somebody be a little bit more independent and control of their daily activities. Even a talking clock that says, I don't know what time it is, so I'm just going to push this button and voila, I know what time it is. So we really are working individually with everybody, whether it's through our rehab program or in the community, to really help them connect with, the tools and the techniques and the skills that they need to continue that, productive life that they want to continue on. I will say we do have some resources that I'd like to share as well for those who are thinking, I don't know enough about technology. We have a Tech Tuesday. It's our assistive technology director who facilitates that every Tuesday. It is through Zoom, or you can call in. And he kind of has a topic of conversation around maybe popular apps to go through, or maybe on screen readers, on JAWS, on computers. So he has a particular topic to share with everybody, and then it goes into a question answer for those who just may need a refresher on something going on with their phone, their computer, their tablet, whatever that might be. We also have a resource for what we call our emotional support line, because we know adjustment to vision loss, people are at all different stages. It is a going through the different stages of grief. So there is anger, there is, all kind of things that go on, and people are at all different stages. So we have an emotional support line that people can call into every Tuesday morning. I believe it's at 9 o'clock. And our adjustment counselor, who is a licensed clinical social worker, helps to kind of lead those conversations, because we not only know that vision loss affects that individual, it can affect family members and those dynamics as well because of those role changes that might be occurring, or just how somebody might be viewing their mom and dad because their vision has changed. So we go through all of those type of things. And then on the fun thing of resources, we have a line called Connections. And this is, to me, like a giant party line of activities. So it's all phone activities. So for those who can no longer physically fill out a crossword puzzle, we have a phone crossword puzzle activity line that is facilitated by somebody who typically has vision loss, or a volunteer or one of our staff, and they will give the clue, and it's just like people are chiming right back in as to what that answer is. We have trivia, Jeopardy, there's a book club. So there's different ways when many of our older adults especially are looking for ways to connect with others. This connections line gives them that opportunity to stay engaged in activities, as well as, talk with others who are going through similar situations. So Bosma and Whole is a nonprofit, 501c3 company, but we provide services every year to probably over 900 individuals who are at all different stages of vision loss, and helping them to continue to move forward toward their life goals and, achieving that level of independence that they want to in their daily activities. So that's a quick synopsis of some conditions to be aware of with vision, as well as some of the services that we provide.
That was just a wealth of information, Marsha. You were fabulous. I have a couple follow-up questions for you. If I was at home taking care of my mother or father who has some vision loss or is starting to, and I think they might benefit from your services, do you all come out and do a home assessment? How do I get a hold of you? How do I get the ball rolling to be able to help my parent?
Absolutely. Great question. You should call Bosma, and you can call the 888-567-3422 number and let them know you're interested in services. Is one of the great ways to get started. Our services typically will start with a little bit of an over-phone assessment and information gathering through our intake process. So we gather some basic data because we need to know where we're going and who we're talking with. Are there other medical conditions, living? Because we are a nonprofit, there is some demographic information that we will ask because it's what our funders require for us to kind of report back on. But once we get that, we assign that out to one of our rehabilitation teachers, and they will make contact with that client, that person who's looking for services. And sometimes we start that over the phone just to kind of get to know them, kind of get to know what their challenges are. Maybe we can identify a couple of adaptive aids for them right there. And then we schedule an in-home visit so that we can do further assessment and training on those techniques and adaptive aids. We also welcome family members or friends to be present during any of those if that client is willing to have that person present, because that paired and kind of support that goes along with that person learning can be very beneficial as well, so that there's some backup support to carry through that learning.
Thank you. That's really helpful to know what next steps are if you are somebody going through that at home. I just can't thank you enough for joining us. Like, you've been a wealth of information, and I'm sure there are going to be some families who really appreciate the information you just gave. So thank you so much for joining us, Marsha.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to answering any questions that come through. So thank you again for the opportunity.